Walk into almost any gym and you'll see the exact same thing. A line for the treadmills, people staring at calorie counters, 45 minutes of steady cardio, and yet months later, most of them still look exactly the same. Here's the weird part. Some of the best fat-burning exercises in the entire gym are usually sitting empty. Nobody's using them. Nobody's talking about them. And that's where we're starting. Exercise number 1, the kettlebell swing. The kettlebell is one of those pieces of equipment people either completely ignore or use terribly. You'll see someone doing curls with it, maybe a few awkward shoulder raises, then they'll put it down and head straight back to the treadmill. Big mistake. Because when kettlebell swings are done correctly, they feel less like lifting weights and more like launching your entire body forward over and over again. The movement starts at the hips, not the shoulders, not the arms. The bell is basically a passenger. Your glutes fire, your hamstrings fire, your core locks down, your grip works overtime. Then before your body fully recovers, the next rep starts. And then another, and another. A few seconds in, something interesting happens. Your lungs start working much harder than you'd expect from a movement that doesn't even involve running. Your heart rate climbs, fast. That's because swings combine two things most fat loss exercises fail to combine: a lot of muscle and very little rest. The more muscle your body has to recruit at once, the more energy it has to spend. It's really that simple. No magic, no secret fat-burning zone, no exercise is powerful enough to override a terrible diet. That's worth remembering because fitness marketing has spent years convincing people otherwise. The goal isn't to find an exercise that somehow melts fat off your stomach. That exercise doesn't exist. The goal is finding movements that create a massive energy demand while helping you hold on to muscle. And swings do both. That's why people who master them usually look athletic long before they ever get lean. But as effective as swings are, there's another exercise hiding in most gyms that might be even more brutal. The funny thing is most people walk right past it because it looks too simple to work. Exercise number 2 is the sled push, or the sled drag. Honestly, it doesn't matter which version you choose. Both hurt, a lot, and that's exactly why almost nobody does them. Walk over to the turf section of most gyms and you'll usually find the sled sitting alone in a corner collecting dust. Meanwhile, every treadmill in the building is occupied, which is strange when you think about it. Because the sled does something very few exercises can do. It lets you push almost as hard as possible without beating your body into the ground. That sounds backwards. Normally, the harder an exercise gets, the more recovery it demands. Heavy squats, sprint sessions, high-volume leg workouts. You feel them for days. Sometimes you feel them every time you sit down. The sled is different. You just keep driving forward. No lowering phase, no catching yourself, no crashing back into the ground. Just force, continuous force. And that tiny detail changes everything. You can push hard enough that your legs feel like they're filling with concrete. Your lungs start panicking. Your heart starts hammering against your ribs. Yet somehow the next day, you're not nearly as destroyed as you'd expect. That's what makes the sled dangerous, in a good way. Most people judge exercises based on how exhausted they feel afterward. The smarter question is, how often can you repeat it? Because fat loss isn't about one heroic workout. It's about stacking productive sessions week after week, and the sled lets you do that again and again and again without digging yourself into a recovery hole. That's why athletes have quietly used sled work for decades while most gym goers ignored it. The exercise isn't flashy. There's no mirror pump, no complicated technique to show off. You just lean forward and work hard. The first time someone loads the sled heavier than they're comfortable with, they usually underestimate it. The first 10 meters feel manageable. Then 20 meters arrive, and suddenly every breath feels expensive. That's when the sled starts revealing what it really is. Not a strength exercise, not a cardio exercise. Something sitting right in the middle. And those hybrid movements are often the ones that create the biggest overall demand. Which brings us to the next exercise. Because if the sled forces your entire body to work together, this next movement takes that idea even further. In fact, it might be the closest thing to a full-body exercise that nobody ever talks about. Exercise number 3 is the loaded carry, which sounds almost too simple to deserve a spot on this list. Pick something heavy up, walk, that's it. No fancy machine, no complicated setup, no secret technique, just you and a weight that suddenly feels much heavier than it did 5 seconds ago. The reason carries are so effective is that your body never gets a chance to relax. Think about a bench press. You lower the weight, press it, lock out, reset. Every rep has tiny moments where tension drops. Carries don't work like that. The second you lift the weight, the clock starts. Your core has to stay braced. Your grip has to stay locked. Your shoulders have to stay stable. Your legs keep moving. Every step demands more work, and every second you're holding the load, your body is paying for it. That's what makes carries sneaky. They don't look dramatic. Nobody watches a farmer's walk and thinks, that looks impossible. Then they try it. 30 seconds later, their forearms are on fire. Their core is shaking. Their lungs are working harder than expected. And suddenly, the simplicity makes sense. What's happening is that nearly every major muscle group is contributing at the same time, not taking turns, working together. The body loves efficiency. Loaded carries force the opposite. Everything stays switched on. That's expensive. From an energy standpoint, that's exactly what you want. But there's another benefit people rarely talk about. Carries train the kind of strength that actually shows up in real life. Moving furniture, carrying groceries, picking up kids, dragging luggage through an airport. Most gym exercises exist inside the gym. Carries seem to follow you everywhere. Which brings us to exercise number 4. And this is where things start getting ugly. Because up until now, each movement has had moments where you could briefly settle into a rhythm. The next exercise removes that completely. Once it starts, you're either moving or suffering. Usually both. Exercise number 4 is the thruster, a squat and an overhead press fused into one movement. Sounds harmless until you try it. You squat down, drive up, launch the weight overhead, then immediately do it again, and again, and again. The first few reps don't seem bad. That's the trap. Thrusters have a unique way of convincing you everything is under control right before your entire cardiovascular system files a formal complaint. Because every rep forces the biggest muscles in your lower body to work, then immediately demands effort from your upper body. There's nowhere to hide. Your legs are involved. Your shoulders are involved. Your core is involved. Even your breathing feels involved. And once the pace picks up, it feels less like lifting weights and more like surviving a controlled emergency, which is exactly why almost nobody sticks with them long enough to discover what happens next. Exercise number 5 is battle ropes, and this might be the most underestimated exercise on the entire list. Because the second people see them, they make the same assumption. That's an arm workout. Not even close. The arms are just what you notice first. What you don't notice is everything happening underneath. Your legs are working to keep you stable. Your core is fighting to stop your body from folding. Your shoulders are burning. Your grip is constantly engaged. And every wave you send through the rope creates another demand your body has to answer. The faster you move, the worse it gets. That's why battle ropes have a strange reputation. People use them for 30 seconds, get tired, put them down, then assume they're effective because they felt difficult. But difficulty and results aren't the same thing. A single hard set doesn't change much. Accumulated work does. That's the part most people skip. The people getting real results from ropes aren't doing one flashy set for social media. They're stacking rounds, again and again, 30 seconds, brief rest, repeat. The fatigue builds differently than with most exercises. At first it's your shoulders, then your breathing catches up, then your legs start feeling heavier, then everything starts happening at once. And suddenly you're trying to maintain a rhythm your body no longer wants to maintain. That's where the real value appears. Because unlike running, jumping, or sprinting, battle ropes create that conditioning effect without constantly pounding your joints, which means they become one more tool you can recover from and repeat. And that's the pattern hidden behind every exercise on this list. Not magic calorie numbers, not secret fat-burning hacks, just movements that recruit a huge amount of muscle, create massive demand, and allow you to keep showing up consistently. The mistake most people make is looking for the perfect exercise. The better approach is finding 2 or 3 of these and rotating them through your week. Maybe it's sled pushes and carries. Maybe it's swings and ropes. Maybe it's thrusters if you're slightly insane. The combination matters far less than the effort, because 20 minutes of focused, uncomfortable work will outperform an hour of mindless movement almost every time. And that's usually the moment people realize the exercises they've been avoiding are often the exact ones they needed most. The sled in the corner, the kettlebell collecting dust, the ropes nobody touches, the carry nobody thinks counts as training. Funny how the things that create the biggest change are usually the same things everyone walks past on their way to another treadmill session, never realizing how much harder their body could have been working the entire time.